So welcome everyone to our Jane Addams program tonight, Public Policy Advocacy Now. While people are coming online, I'd like to do a quick reminder to sign up for being a 2-minute activist if you haven't already. We really need everyone signed up so that we have as many of our voices responding to what's happening and responding to our AAUW alerts. It's the easiest way to send an email or text to your legislators to fight for equal pay, family leave, stopping sexual harassment, equality in education, and so much more. So we'll put this link in the chat to make it easy a little bit later. But even if you think you're signed up, sign up again just to make sure it's current. So we'd like to encourage you to consider joining the statewide AAUW Jane Addams Branch. We have people in the state of Illinois and from other states as well. And during the program, please use the chat window for questions or comments, or if you're having a technical problem. Please remember to stay muted during the program since we are recording the program. And the recording will be posted on the Jane Addams website about a week after our program tonight. I'd like to introduce our speakers, Karen Kortsch. Karen is currently the president of AAUW Waukegan Area Branch. She's been a member of the Waukegan Area Branch for 13 years, and she is currently serving as the Illinois State AAUW Public Policy Co-Director. And our second speaker, Ken Olson. Dr. Ken Olson serves on the AAUW Illinois State Board as co-director of public policy as well. And he's the public policy director of the Schaumburg area AAUW board. He's a native of Wisconsin, and he was a professor on the faculty of the Animal Science Department at the University of Kentucky. Then the National Dairy and Animal Health Specialist for the American Farm Bureau Federation. He's currently principal of KEO Consulting, working in dairy and research policy. He received a PhD in political science from the Michigan State University. And now it's my pleasure to turn the program over to Ken and Karen.
Hi, everybody. Ken, would you like to begin?
There we go. Sorry for that. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to spend a little time with you this evening talking about public policy. One correction maybe I should make to start out is that I am actually a PhD graduate in genetics from the University of Wisconsin, not Michigan State. But
I think
Michigan State's a good place. Yeah. So tonight, Karen and I want to talk about public policy advocacy and what you can do. If we can get our slides to move. Well, there we go. Some things that we'll be talking about this evening a little bit is the AAUW process for what are policy priorities. We'll provide an update on some of the DC happenings, some of the Springfield happenings, talking about what you can do, as well as some advocacy tips on how you might do it. So hopefully it'll be an interesting and informative evening. As we look at this, it's important that we be raising our voices. This headline from the New York Times, I think, is very appropriate. Now is not the time to tune out. We need to be active. We need to be involved. We need to be informed. And so hopefully this helps do that. A couple of reminders. AAUW is nonpartisan, meaning that we don't advocate for one party, but we are political. We advocate for the policies that are consistent with AAUW policies for equality, for women's rights, and the various areas that we do cover. As we look at what our guides are for advocacy, first is our mission, which is advancing gender equality through research, education, and advocacy. We also take in consideration our values, nonpartisan, fact-based, principled, inclusive, and intersectional. Now, we do have biennial policy priorities. We're just basically wrapping up the 23 to 25, and in the process of revising our next biennial, which will be 2025 to 2027. The proposed policy principles emphasize core values regarding education, economic security, and social justice. While the proposed policies for federal advocacy are chosen based on critical needs, political viability, and potential for distinctive AU contributions or leadership, basically we want things where we play an important role and move forward there. Actually, the National Board is voting on the revised policy priorities that will be sent out for a vote in April. So be watching for that as far as defining our priorities for the next biennium. The revised priorities we anticipate will focus on promoting gender fairness, equity, diversity, and inclusivity, focused in higher education. We're not backing down. Some of the things that we've been working towards are pay equity, paid family leave, the ERA, Title IX, lowering student debt, and stopping sexual harassment. So again, we urge you to be involved because by changing policy, we can improve gender equity. Taking a little look at what's going on in DC right now, if you watch the news, it can get overwhelming at times. During the first month in office, President Trump signed 73 executive orders, plus a number of other executive actions. I've highlighted just a few here. There are some in the background that are things that are likely of interest. The ones highlighted are ones that I think fit in really with our AAUW agenda. One of the major concerns is the potential shuttering of agencies created by Congress, including the Education Department. The administration has sought to do that, but it is a function of Congress, and so there's a bit of a battle going on there. But I think we need to watch that, and we'll talk about a few other things related to that as well. The other thing that they have done, even more than wiping out the Education Department, is wiping out diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and rolling back transgender rights in a variety of executive orders. One recognizes just two sexes, male and female. But relative to agencies, they've basically defunded and destaffed most of the programs that deal with diversity, equity, and inclusion. One of the things that's recommended sometimes is that when talking to people, we ask them not to just use the acronym of DEI, but actually speak about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Talking to somebody that is opposed to it, might ask which part of the trio there, the diversity, equity, or inclusion, don't you like? It's much easier to talk about that than the acronym. So the executive orders will continue to flow. One thing to keep in mind, these are not laws, but they do set policy direction. In order to be something that goes into law, it needs to be passed through both houses of Congress and signed by the president. And so right now there's still, there hasn't really been any legislation that has been passed yet, but these kind of set the agenda for what they're looking to do. Some of the other actions that you might have heard of, there's been quite a few controversial cabinet choices. One that I highlight is Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. AAUW has been opposing her because she has actually no background in education. She's advocated moving funding for public schools into private vouchers, and just a number of choices there that are against our values. There is a letter available, and National is asking that we still go forward as far as sending that to our members of Congress in opposition to her being selected as the Secretary of Education. She's cleared the committee to go to the full floor, but it hasn't been voted on yet, so there is still time to go to the 2-minute activist and send those letters in. Another thing that's a significant problem is that through the executive orders, they have really vacated the 2024 Title IX rules, and so we're back to more or less previous versions. Some of the other things are attacking women's reproductive health, voting rights, and they also have attempted to freeze funds that have been appropriated for Congress. So really some challenging times that are being dealt with, and some things that we need to be active and involved with. I guess as we look at kind of what else is happening in DC, if you've been watching news over the last day or so, you've probably heard about the House version of the reconciliation budget. The budget process is a cumbersome sort of process. Actually, we were supposed to have had a budget passed by October 1st of last year, and it still hasn't been done, but they're still working on things there. The budget that was passed by the House that you've probably been hearing about is actually what they call a reconciliation budget that's basically setting the guidelines for where they're going to go. This will need to go back to committees because there are 12 different budgets associated with it. But the goals that they have in their blueprint is to cut taxes by up to $4.5 trillion. Major concern that we have is that the bulk of that goes to the top end of the income structure. Estimates are that at least close to half of the funds go to the top 5% of the public. And so there is concerns over the cut because it is going to add to the federal deficit as well. They have a goal of cutting mandatory federal spending by $2 trillion. Very significant cuts there, obviously. And then in addition to that, they're asking the various committees to cut an additional $1.5 trillion. The three that I highlighted here, they're asking the Energy and Commerce Committee to cut $880 billion. Now, they do a number of things dealing with food safety, consumer protection, and education programs. The Education Workforce Committee has been asked to cut $330 billion. That's where much of the funding for the Education Department for educational programs come in. The Agriculture Committee has been asked to cut, or told to cut, $230 billion. This is where most of the nutrition programs come in. The bulk of the USDA budget is actually devoted to nutrition programs rather than farm programs. So it's something that's critical across the country. The other thing that they did, because we're almost at the debt ceiling, which is kind of similar to what our credit card limit is, they're approaching that quickly, and so they're raising the debt ceiling, the amount that they can borrow, by $4 trillion. So that's what's in the House version. The Senate has got their own version, and then they have to go to a reconciliation process where they merge them together. So there'll be opportunities for us to raise up concerns relative to what's being done to education and to our various priorities there. It's something that I know that we'll be hearing from National. So those are kind of a few of the things that are going on there. I'd like to turn it over now to Karen to talk about the Springfield situation that isn't quite as raucous as what the DC situation is.
All right, yes. What's going on in Springfield right now? Well, the General Assembly session has begun. And hopefully all of you, or most of you, know that Jenny Perdue is our lobbyist at the state capitol. And she keeps Ken and I appraised of what bills are being introduced that might be relevant and apply to us as far as our AAU values are concerned. She sends us a list of bills to review weekly, and we go over those and decide what we want to do with those. And Ken and I are still learning. I know there's a lot of bills that seem pretty ridiculous, and so those ones that aren't likely to get any traction, a lot of times, instead of saying that we oppose them, Jenny advises us that we'll just monitor them, and if there's a need to actually, come out and formally oppose them, we can do that. But because right now, as a reflection of what's going on in Washington, there are a lot of partisan bills being introduced this session to restrict reproductive rights, and there's one to block trans students from participating in school sports. And like I said, these bills will probably not gain traction as they don't have broad support. But I think, conservative factions feel like they have more of a tailwind right now with what's going on in our country at the federal level. So they're introducing a lot of these bills, and so we've seen a big long list. So here I have bills that we are supporting. There's HB 1277 that requires students in grades 6 to 12 to receive information on the National Domestic Violence Hotline. That's something, I think it says in there, when a student gets their ID, nowadays students get IDs. I always forget that because we didn't have that when I was in school. But so when students get their IDs, they would get this little pamphlet on the domestic violence hotline, which is a good thing for adolescents to have, because dating violence can be a big issue, and other kinds of domestic violence for young people. HB 1424, film credit for portraying women in STEM. That's an interesting one. Filmmakers get a tax credit if they make a movie where they have women in the movie that are working in a STEM field. So I guess that's nice to have that tax credit, and to incentivize people to portray women in a more more intelligent light, and to show that women can do a variety of things, especially in STEM. So that's one of our focuses in AAUW, is to encourage women to go into STEM fields, or I think they call it STEAM now. We got one more letter, but yeah, the bill says STEM. SR 10, Senate Resolution 10, condemns conversion therapy. So hopefully you all are aware of what conversion therapy is, to basically to convert people who are homosexual or trans, you know, who have unique whatever. But it's to convert them to the cultural norm, whatever people consider that. So that's what conversion therapy is to talk people out of their own identity. SB 2705, Equality for Every Family Act, is another one we support, and that basically has to do with respecting families of all types, you know, families with two mothers, two fathers, single mother, single father, uh, a variety of family situations, and not just, you know, the cultural norm of the mother, father, and children, because that the um every, you know, alternate types of families are under attack right now, and so that's something that we want to support. And we had talked about lobby day. That came up when we were discussing putting this thing together, if there is an interest in a lobby day. And what I had said when we were having this discussion before we had this meeting was, I don't think, you know, I can't remember when AAUW had a lobby day, but I know that there has not been a lot of interest in people actually coming to the Capitol for a lobby day. And the lobby day that I went to, I believe that was last year, was with when Paula and Tracy were the public policy directors, and it was the Planned Parenthood lobby day. And I was actually the only other, there was maybe one other person, but it was primarily me and Paula and Tracy who were there from AAUW. So I would, if there is a real interest in lobby day and people contact us and say this is something they really want to do, and that we know that the interest is there and that people are sincerely committed to that, we could set up a lobby day. But that's a big if, because I really don't know if there's the interest there. So, I mean, and if people have questions about what is a lobby day, you know, please let me know, because I think lobby days can be valuable, but yeah, we would have to have the interest. And like I said, we piggybacked off Planned Parenthood's lobby day last year, and due to you know, all the funding cuts everywhere, Planned Parenthood decided that they were going to let go of all their legislative advocacy staff. So they have no staff that do any legislative advocacy in Illinois anymore. So there won't be a Planned Parenthood advocacy day, lobby day, excuse me. So yeah. Is there anything I didn't cover? Oh, we can move on, I guess.
Yeah. I'm sure that there can be some questions there and things too. And you know, I'd reiterate too, if you're interested in lobby day, I think that they can be good. It takes some planning to do them, but if we do them right, it's a good way to talk to our members of the legislature, and that's one of the things I want to talk about in a little bit here. But I guess kind of a change of subject here is dealing with political stress. I don't know how many of you are basically on media frequently hearing about all the things going on, but it can become kind of overwhelming. The international news and media, everything that's going on, you just wonder what's happening. And so, what can we do to limit stress a little bit? Take a break and get away from it. Regain our sanity a little bit. One thing I think is to be intentional with the news and media. Maybe set some limits on how much time you're going to do it. It's important to be informed, but we don't want to be in front of the screen all of the time. And so take a little time away from it. One of the things that a friend of mine was telling me, she sometimes feels almost overwhelmed with uh, all the things going on. And she's a knitter. And what she likes to do is when she gets to feeling stressed from it, shut off the TV and get away from the computer, go to her room and knit. She knits about 300 hats each year for preemies. And so it's a good way to kind of get away from it and get your sanity back. I'm not a knitter, so I don't do that, but try to find some ways to do some things there. It's important to have constructive conversations. Um, not talk to people that share your values, but also talk to others and do it in a constructive manner. Again, take some time for yourself to read, rest, exercise, do crafts, whatever makes you feel a little bit more comfortable and get some of the stress away. Another good thing I think is volunteering for groups or organizations. It uh, it could be something like Wings or Feed My Starving Children or Habitat for Humanity. Lots of different uh, valuable organizations out there, and they desperately do need volunteers at this time. So it's one way to kind of um, take a little break from all that's going on relative to the policy discussion and do some good in our communities. So, but getting back to what we're wanting to do relative to our advocacy, one of the things we need to do is communicate with our legislators, be it our state legislators or our federal legislators. They're all important. As we're looking at that, in-person visits are best. There are a variety of different types of communications that we can do. Karen just talked about the lobby day. That's one way to talk with them frequently. But again, in-person visits are best. Everybody has an office, or every one of our uh, legislators do have an office in the Capitol, either in Springfield or Washington, D.C. They also have local offices. Now, I find that usually it's easier to contact them at the local office than what it is at the office in the Capitol. But any of them will work, and either talking to the member directly or key staff people are good. But talking face to face is a great thing. Town halls are good. Many legislators, our representatives, will be doing town halls. Now, I especially like the in-person ones. Again, you have an opportunity to talk usually both with the legislator as well as meet some of the staff people, and that can be important for future communications. Phone calls are also good, just that voice contact. Another is earlier, it's a little bit hard to do now because we're get right through and speak with them. So phone calls are useful. They're a good way to contact and letters are useful. They're not quite as good as the
Whoops. I think maybe Ken fell. Oh, there you are. What happened?
Like he was breaking up.
Yeah, he was breaking up.
His voice-
Well, maybe I'll take this opportunity. We were talking about phone calls, and I know there was an article passed around today. I don't know if a lot of you got it. There was an article in the New York Times about calls to legislators and how the phone system couldn't handle the volume of calls. And so it made me kind of rethink wanting to call legislators right now because there's a lot of people who, have immediate needs, who just lost their job, lost their food share, lost their Medicaid, lost different things, and need immediate help. And they're trying to call their legislators and they can't get through because everybody's calling the legislators because everybody's upset about what's going on. And so it gave me a lot of food for thought about whether we should really be calling right now to express our outrage or if we should let people who have more immediate needs get through to their legislators. So I don't know if anybody else has an opinion on that. I know Joanne Sabanjian is here somewhere. She works for a state senator and she might have an opinion on that. I don't know if at the state level, though, they have the same problems that the federal government is having, because everybody, I think, is calling people at the federal level and, because it's outrageous what's going on. So yeah, that's another thing to ponder.
I think we found that it's easier to get through to someone at the local office, like Ken was saying, rather than the federal.
Yeah, I know, but too, I mean, but like I said, at this point in time, I mean, whether you're calling if it's your senator in Washington, whether you're calling their office here or their office in Washington, you want to think about the people that have more immediate needs that really need to get through, because you don't want to be, clogging the lines. And, you can write personal emails to your legislators and that can be effective too. So,
Right.
I mean, it can be argued either way, but that was, I thought about that because it talked about that in this article. So it's something to ponder.
Yeah. I guess, am I back there now?
Yes.
Yes, you're back, Ken.
Okay, I
Your
apologize.
slides are gone. Do we need slides anymore?
Oh, I've got them here. Let me see if we can't get them.
Okay, while you're working too, I don't know if I know Paula is here somewhere too. I don't know if she wants to. Yeah, oh, I see Paula right here. If she wants to say something about the school boards, because she sent something to us today about school boards, and she's been very involved even now with the school board coalition, and school and library boards was a big focus of ours before. Are you here, Paula?
I am. I'm trying to get on my, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yes, we've had a couple of meetings already, and it seems like we don't have as many Moms for Liberty kinds of candidates this year like we did several years ago. But if anyone is having a school board election and you've got candidates who want to ban books and to do what Moms for Liberty want to do, because they're not for liberty at all, please let me know. PaulaPatchwork@gmail.com is my email, or let Karen and Ken know, and then they can contact me, because we want to continue to have candidates for libraries and school districts that care about the jobs they have to do. Thank you.
Thanks, Paula. Yeah, I think I went to one of those coalition meetings when you weren't there, and because I was new, I had a hard time sorting out all the information, but I didn't hear anything too crazy going on. So it does sound like things are simmering down a little bit. So that's great news.
Yes.
Yeah, hopefully they stay that way. But, hopefully technical difficulties are taken care of here now. But just a couple tips for making visits with your legislators. One is to make an appointment. Either the member or the staff are fine, but let them know that you want to come. Don't just show up. but make an appointment because they can be hard to reach. When you make the appointment, tell them where you're from and your position. If you're a member of AAUW, a policy person or whatever thing like that. One of the things the legislators prefer to talk to people that are from their state, their district. And so that's why I say to tell them where you're from. Also tell them what you're going to be interested in visiting about. Keep in mind that you'll probably have a half-hour max. It might be more like 15 minutes. I know that some of us visited with Raja last week, and we got about 20 minutes as he was driving in his car. But go ahead and do those sorts of things. When you're doing a visit, you want to be sure to be prepared. As much as possible, be aware of the person's position on the issues that you're concerned about. And also, it's good to know what committees they serve on, because if they're on a committee dealing with that, they're going to have more impact. Everybody's important because they all vote on all of the issues in the long run, but the committee members are ones that are going to move forward what needs to be done. If you've got some asks, some things that you want them to do, practice them a little bit beforehand and be ready with them. Again, you've got a short time and you want to be as efficient as possible and get your things out there for them to respond to. When you get in there, again, tell them who you are, what you do, and what you want to visit about, so that that kind of sets a stage. You'll have told them that in setting up the appointment, but it's good to remind them of that as well. As much as possible, share some personal stories of the impact of the issue on you, your family, or your friends. I know one example recently relative to what's going on in DC. My cousin's daughter works for AID, USAID. Her assignment was to terminate 29 people that were working under her, and then she was going to be terminated. So that kind of personal story makes really resonates. Hopefully you don't have ones that are that bad, but personal stories are important and useful to tell. Reiterate the key points on things that you want them to do. Answer any questions they do. Follow up after the visit with thanks, and then and a question also on what they've done relative to the issue. I know most of the legislators here that are my members of Congress or members of the Assembly are very good as far as getting back to me with things that they're doing. And so, but they appreciate knowing that people are interested in that as well. So you want to kind of build those things. Remember, it's not a one-time deal. It's long-term relationships, which is why you want to continually communicate and let them know what you're doing. One piece of advice I would say is don't look for reasons that you can't do advocacy. Look for ways that you can do it. Speaking of which, National did share with me a few things now that hopefully you can take with you and do during the coming days and weeks and months. One thing, it's not too late to take action to oppose the McMahon nomination. They expect the Senate is going to move to a final vote early next week. And so there is some time yet. And share the letter from AAUW with your senators. And
Yeah, the link is in the chat. Tracy put it in the chat.
Yeah.
So people should be able to find that link to the letter about Linda McMahon.
it's it's a very easy process to do, and it doesn't take time. That's why that we call it being the 2-minute activist. But that's one of the things that we can do immediately. Looking ahead, we'll be focusing on attacks on higher education, specifically where they have a greater impact on women. And you'll be having more requests to contact members of Congress. That's one of the things that we need to do, is have as many people as possible that are actually involved in making the contacts with their members of Congress and developing relationships for the long term. The Congress has very thin margins in both the House and the Senate. And so our participation can have an impact. It only takes a change of a couple votes in order to make a difference. And so it's important to be involved in telling the story. Now, in addition to sending letters or 2-minute activists for action alerts, be inviting people to trainings and sharing talking points on specific issues to raise awareness of the issues. So we can talk during the congressional recess. Members of Congress usually come back to their district during the course of the year, and hopefully they have town halls. And so it's an opportunity to do it or an opportunity to talk with them when they're in the district. But it'll be some things to use in your personal contacts there. You can be looking for those to be coming forward. Some resources. One thing, Karen and I have excellent people in the DC office that we work with, Megan Kalina. They do a good job of addressing the issues. One of the things to lift up relative to our branches, Megan told me that less than 40 branches across the country received a policy star for the 5-star program. We'd like to help support more branches getting involved and getting that star for the 5-star award. So it's something that I think is going to be relatively easy to do with this. It's just a matter of actually getting involved and doing it. The policy team from National is working with the Public Policy Committee to develop and share more resources. We'll encourage branches to be involved in the advocacy work. And one example is sharing ways branches can help advance Title IX protections for pregnant and parenting students at the local level, but lots of other things that come up. If you have examples of what your branch is doing, share them so that we can share them across the state and across the country. They can make a difference relative to getting adopted the policy priorities that we want. So I guess one final request is please get involved to keep us moving forward. We're looking forward to some questions and comments. You can email either Karen or myself, and we'll respond to you. Remember, it's not one-off. The fun is just starting in DC and the state houses. So with that, we'd like to see if there's some questions around for us.
I'm not seeing questions in the chat. One question or sort of a clarification that I think many of us would be concerned about when you mentioned the Department of Agriculture budget, and those discussions are going on now as to what to cut. Isn't that where the school lunch program comes from? And a lot of the food resources are under the Department of Agriculture?
Yeah. SNAP, TFAP, school lunches, all are part of that. And so it puts all of those programs at risk. The budget cuts that they're requested to make are significant. And so it really puts them at risk.
Tracy has her hand up. Come on, Tracy.
So I just have a question, and I probably should know this, but I don't, because I'm really not on the executive board for my branch. What are the things that our branch needs for public policy to get a star? Does anyone know offhand?
I am so bad with that. I know that the AAUW now is trying extra. They're giving extra effort to publicizing the 5-star policy because I got an email today about what our branch has done and what we need to do. So, but yeah,
Well,
think
and
I have to
basically
say, I
things like
don't know off the top of my
involvement with
head
your,
either.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
some
Public
of the things that
policy,
count.
appoint a branch public policy chair for this year. Conduct a meeting with an elected official regarding an AAUW public policy position. This could include local, state, or federal. Participate in a state lobby day. So lobby day is one, but you don't have to do all of these. You only need to do 3. Hold a program on a policy topic related to education, economic security, or civil rights. This also counts towards a program star. Conduct a voter registration or voter education event. Encourage signups for 2-minute activists at branch events and on social media. So a lot of them are really easy. The 2-minute activist thing is real easy. Having a branch public policy chair is easy.
okay.
Yeah, and having like a mission-based program on a policy topic is,
I mean, I
could
only
be-
say because I've had programs with our legislators, but it's like they've already spoken to our branch, and so I know there's more like new stuff going on because they like to share what they've done. But part of me is like, okay, do we really want to hear from the same legislators that are in our area? But thank you for that. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
But you could hold a program on a policy topic and you don't necessarily have to invite the legislator, as long as you're doing a program on the policy. I think Tara has her hand up and Barbara. Tara or
Yeah.
Tara?
Hi there.
Hi, Tara.
I'm Tara McAndrew from the Springfield branch, newly named public policy person for here. And I have 2 questions. One is, will you be sending out witness slip notifications for members to complete to support or oppose Illinois bills that AAUW supports or opposes? So that's one question. And my second question is, do you have any general tips for how to encourage members to become active in public policy when they have primarily viewed AAUW as a social group?
That is an excellent question, Tara, and something that, yes, Tracy is smiling because it's something that we have struggled with for years. So, you can only do what you can do, but I mean, in this time, it's important to let your friends and people, when you have meetings, let them know how you feel, that you're very passionate about our public policy and that it's important. And I know it's an uphill battle because we have that issue by us too. It's a common issue in a lot of branches. And that's why, like I said, we haven't we don't have a lobby day because we need to get people to commit to come to Springfield. And there aren't a lot of people that want to commit to doing that. So yeah, that's an excellent question. And all I can say is just keep blowing your horn. And I look forward to meeting you in person at the convention. I hope you're going to be there since it's in your hometown.
Better be.
And
I would add, underlining what Ken said, you can motivate people by sharing those personal stories about the impact on kids or on families, and then they can see more directly the impact of opposition or support for legislation. It's got to impact somebody they know or their grandchildren or whatever.
In the conversations, there are probably going to be things that are impacting the families that really are impacted by the various legislation pieces that we're talking about. You did ask about the witness slips also, and yes, as they come out, we will be sending those to you, and we encourage you to have as many members as possible complete the witness slips and send them in, because again, there's something that is important to get done.
oh yeah, that I had not I forgot to address that part of the question. I'm so sorry, but yes, we do want to get witness slips out when it is appropriate, and it's a tight turnaround time usually to get those out.
Yeah.
And yeah, that could be a whole program in itself, teaching people how to use the Illinois General Assembly website and do witness slips and set up an account there. And so yeah, that is definitely something, yeah, that we will be doing when a bill gets to that point that we are supporting. And I want to let Barbara talk because she looks very anxious to ask her question. So Barbara, please ask us your question.
Has anyone on this call, you mentioned Raja inadvertently at the beginning. Ken, has anyone
Yeah.
on this call contacted Raja and knows his position on any of the issues that you've mentioned that are in particular important to AUW? Or what he's done on any of these?
Yeah, I've met with Raja quite a few times, and I would say that I don't know of any of our positions that he's in opposition to. He's been very strong as far as working for equality, for inclusion, for education programs, for basically holding people accountable for what they're doing legislatively. He's on the oversight committee, which well, that oversees the agencies in the government. It's something that's, I'd say, being threatened by some of the work now. But Raja is very supportive of, as far as I can tell, everything that we've done. When I've asked him, yes, he's been supporting them.
Would he be a leader to front something, that is to say, be a spokesperson and get some commentaries out there? That is to say, I think the Democrats need to stand up and be counted where people can see them. There's a problem with the main media that's against us now, as we can see, but the young staffers who know all those different platforms that young people are on and so forth, and some of us are on Substack and Blue Sky, and to get them out there so that we're already running for 2026. And if we get out there these issues like education and childcare and women's rights and equality, that people care about and would like to know that Democrats will do something if they give us a chance.
Yeah. Raja is one of the members of Congress that are called on, I would say, more frequently than many relative to interviews with the media. And so he is, I see him on TV, both local and some of the national networks. One of the things that I personally encourage him to do is kind of consistent with what you're doing. When after the last election, I suggested that what needs to be done is to periodically hold a press conference with some good spokesperson each week to highlight some of the positive things that were being done. And so far that hasn't happened, but that's basically one of the things. Again, as AAW, we need to be nonpartisan, but Raja is one that supports our values.
If we ask enough, that idea of flooding the zone with calls and letters, if we ask enough, something might happen. If we keep the pressure on, they're going to feel the pressure for 2026, or they already do. They're running all the time. So they know what we're talking about. To get out there, they do need to call out all the terrible things going on, but we also need a positive message for people to glom onto.
Hey, Laura has a question now.
I have a quick statement. June Stelter had something in the chat. How can we be effective when all my officials are in the same mind as AUW? But the officials who have opposing views are in lockstep with the Washington agenda. I mean, in Illinois, you know, in the our congressional, for me, they're all Democrat. And so my ponder is for you to respond. So, I mean, Dick Durbin, I can count on Dick Durbin and Danny Duckworth to vote in my favor. So as a constituent, I'm preaching to the choir in a sense. And so tell me why I need to, I'm just asking that metaphorically. How do we continue, why do we continue to do that?
Well, it's important. So it's important for your legislators to know that you support, these issues, even if they are already supportive of them, because they need to be able to say they represent their constituents. And if they're hearing from a lot of constituents that say, this is what I believe and this is what I would, I want you to support this bill or whatever, they can go to a town hall and say, I've gotten 500 letters saying, or whatever, they need that to be able to say, I'm representing my constituents, because that's their job, to represent their constituents. So they need to hear that their constituents agree with what they're doing. So it is important to reach out and do those things. And another thing is too, people talk about Democrats and Republicans, and, we are a nonpartisan organization, but not all Democrats support all of our AAUW values. And I'm thinking in particular, my representative is Brad Schneider, and he does not always support the bills that represent AAUW values. Like the equal pay kinds of things, he's not always on board with. So, we need to look at each issue individually. Like somebody said, we need to study, what our legislators' positions are on different things and say, hey, also I have a state senator that I love, but she was not in favor of keeping the voucher program sunsetted. And so, that was something. So, you need to know your legislators and what they support and what they don't, and have a discussion with them. Hey, what's going on with this? So don't assume that because your legislator is, a Democrat, that means they support all the things that we believe in. And Paula is looking to speak. So go ahead, Paula.
One thing I'd like to add in here too, though, it is important for them to know that they've got the support from the people in their district, but also that gives them some incentive to talk to some of the other people, because they do talk across the aisle. And by doing that and telling what they're hearing from their constituents, it gives them a little bit more impetus to talk to the other people that we need to change some votes on.
Yeah.
Paula.
I would just add that I think one of the things that we need to do, and Laura, I can easily fall into the same trap that you're talking about, but I think we who believe that the country was doing better than it is now, and upset with what the hell's going on, need to make sure that the Democrats understand our frustration, and to make sure that they do as much as they possibly can to fight against it. Because if they think that we don't care, then, they might get lazy, and we don't need lazy Democrats right now.
Amen.
Those are
Well, the other
responses, just what I wanted to hear.
The other side of that is there may be some people who thought they didn't agree with us who are now having some second thoughts when they hear the cuts. And I think our Congress people, by speaking out, I saw in the chat, Lori posted that Raja posted a strong statement on Facebook about why he voted no on the GOP budget. I think the more details and the more reality we can attach to what's going on in Washington, we will perhaps bring more reality to some of the people with second thoughts, and we will convince a few neighbors to join us in the fight for school lunches or for fairness to students, you know, whatever the issue is. But I know Sean Caston has a good social media presence, and he also has taken leadership in organizing some Congress people to send a letter, a joint letter, urging, you know, actions that we would support. So even though they're in the minority, there are things they could do and speak out in different ways. So I think we need to encourage the people that are with us to be as noisy as possible, and especially on some of the social media, because people aren't reading newspapers. In the comments, there is, whoops. How can we be effective when all of my officials are not are of the same mind, but other officials have opposed viewpoints and are in lockstep with the Washington agenda? I guess we have been talking
Yeah, that's what
about
we've
that.
been talking about, yeah,
That's why I brought the question up.
yeah. And so, yeah, I wonder too, somebody asked about witness slips. Is everybody here familiar with how to file a witness slip?
No, no.
No? Okay, I think, yeah, that would be, there is a website, it's ilga.gov. And when
they've got a big
it's time to file a witness slip, usually we send out a notice with a link to file and with instructions on how to file the witness slip. But I think it's a good idea. I think the Jane Addams Branch did a class a while ago on that, didn't you, Elaine?
Right. We might have
Yeah.
a recording. Basically, it's a system of being able to voice our opinions at the time hearings are held without having to go to Chicago or Springfield. And so we can add our voices supporting or opposing the legislation before the committee hearing takes place. So we have our opinions in the numbers when the committee convenes to consider whatever they're considering.
Yeah, it's a system very unique to Illinois. Because I remember, I don't know if it was at the regional conference I went to or I was somewhere and somebody was asking somebody from another state. And then I explained to them, no, it's a thing that's unique to Illinois. It's not something that other states use. So
Right. And we can look
yeah.
back and see if that recording is available. I know there are several tutorials about that, Illinois witness slips, as to how to fill it out. But usually we do give instructions when we're bringing a particular bill to your attention and whether to support it or not. And you can represent AAUW or you can represent yourself.
So yeah, the ilga.gov website is very informative. If you just go on there and look around, and you can see what kind of bills are in process, and you can search for a particular topic and see things. So it's a good website to go to see what's going on in Springfield, because it can tell you a lot. There are lots of little sections in there you can go to and learn about how Springfield operates and what they're working on right now.
And if you set up an account, you can see whether you already voiced opposition or support in the past, if you forgot whether you did it or not. And you can also monitor particular bills
And
or
I have
topics.
And I have a question, and maybe nobody has the answer for that here. I was going to ask Jenny sometime, but the ilga.gov website, they have another website, and it says, when you go on the website, it says, go to our new website, and the new website says beta on it. And so it's very confusing because it looks like there's not a lot going on the beta website, and it's called beta, so I assume that means it's not in full swing. So yeah, that's something that's going on, and I don't understand it, so.
And they'll probably change it. That's what beta testing is all about.
Yeah, so yeah, there's that.
I see Rockford area is a 3-star branch. I'm pretty sure public policy is one of the 3 stars because Rockford is very active.
Yeah. Yeah, and we did do some of the things that you know that you had said. We had a meeting with our legislators. We've had some Zoom meetings with our legislators. I have a public policy group, small group, but I'd like it to be bigger. But as you were saying before, it's hard to get people to push on public policy. But we have a few, and we've had some Zoom meetings with our local legislators, kind of thing. One thing that I called my state rep, my congressperson, Eric Sorensen, and he's a Democrat. And I called his local office because I couldn't get a hold of him in his Washington office. And his administrative assistant said, call the Republicans. I said, really? They're not going to pay attention to me. She said, oh, yes. She said, they need to hear from people. So, she said, so don't be afraid to call them. And and that's true. They do need to hear from us. I tell people, don't be afraid to call your legislators. We pay their salaries, we pay taxes. So, they need to listen to us, whether they're Republicans or Democrats or not. So let them know where we stand. I see Tracy's chat, my friend Tracy. What should we call them? Well, Tracy, you're supposed to be nice, Tracy.
I think if it's possible to talk to the GOP members now, if you've got friends or relatives that can too, why that's great. I've got a place in Minnesota as well, but it's kind of the same situation as here in that all the members are Democrats, but they're in some important positions. And so it's good to maintain some contacts. But the more we can do, the more people we can reach, the greater the chance of success.
And you never know. Adam Kinziger was from the Rockford area, and he turned a corner.
Yeah.
I used to call Adam's office all the time. His people knew me. Well, hi, Faye, how are you doing today? And I would call them all the time. And when he did something that I liked, I also called him and thanked him. And I think we need to do that. We can't just call people and say, I don't like what you did. But when they are voting the way we want them to vote, let them know that too.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Faye, that you have that. It's great when your legislators know who you are. That shows that you're really doing your job as a constituent. If your legislators know who you are. So that's a great point. So that's, that should be our goal, is to, make sure our legislators know who we are. So when they see me, they say, hi, Karen, or whatever. So yeah, yes, that's right on point.
Another reason to call legislators that might not be in your district, if they are in charge of a committee that's considering a bill that you're very concerned about, you can make your voice heard that way. Because of the issue, that's why you're calling them, and that's why they should listen.
I think this has just been a fantastic conversation, and I've really enjoyed it. Ken had sent me a note and wanted to know that we had five. As easy it is to get a public star, a star for public policy, we had 5 branches that did it. And one of the things that I want to encourage, and that Ken, you know, they've done great with it so far, Ken and Karen have, encouraging branches. And I love the thought of contacting people who might oppose what I think. And I've not really done that. So you've had a great conversation, and I really appreciate y'all setting this up for tonight.
So, that's
I enjoyed this too, yeah.
it's great to hear about the 5 stars. It means we've got about 12% of the branches in the country that received a star for public policy.
You know, when you look at the stats, Illinois did pretty good. There's going to be more talk about how we did in the stars. So there were 5 5-star branches, and Illinois had 2.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the national office of AAUW is communicating a lot about the 5-star program. I got a thing today that said, you know, your branch has done this, and that, and you know, but they need to do, you know, 1 or 2 more of these things, and you can get this star. So they never did that before. So I think you know, they're really pushing the 5-star program now, and so that's good.
So, and I think they think it helps the branches to have some focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Elmhurst and Batavia, Geneva and St. Charles were the 2 branches that got 5 stars. Let's just give them kudos. So, but thank you very much for the presentation.
Elgin got 4 stars. I looked this up.
Yeah, you did get 4.
And we do witness slips all the time. So somebody with the Elgin branch knows how to do it.
Sure, Naperville got 4 stars also.
Hmm. What other branch did you say got 4 stars?
I think Naperville did.
And Elgin got 4 stars.
I have Naperville down as 3. And actually my thing is wrong with Elgin. I was actually surprised when I saw Elgin. Okay.
Yeah, so I see Cynthia had put in the chat a question about the stars. Yeah. So the criteria is right on the AAUW website, and so it can be your president. Somebody replied that your president does that, or it can be somebody else in our chapter. Our membership person has taken it on, and so she makes sure, you know, when she keeps track of what we've done and what we need to do, and when we've met all the criteria for a particular star, she emails the national office and says we've done, you know, these things, and so we qualify for this star. So that's how you do it.
Well, it's exciting. And also, I think it helps focuses the branch, and especially in public policy, it helps us to get to jump in and not be afraid to take action. And I think that's what we need. They're little things, and that's what Karen and Ken have talked about, is how it's small steps can have a big impact. And that's what we need to think. I mean, I as a single person, I'm not going to change today's political realm, but I can make little increment steps. And I think that's what we need to focus on with public policy. Is Elaine talking? Okay.
Stronger together.
Right.
Yeah.
Ken and Karen, thank you very much for tonight's program. I'm not seeing any new questions. Do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make?
Well, I
Well, I
think
guess
I'm good.
I'd like to encourage everybody to be involved, watch for the requests for letters, for witness slips. And if you've got questions after this, you think of something else, why Karen and I are available to answer them, and we'll do our best. Karen?
Yeah, like I said, I don't have anything else to add, but feel free to contact us with any questions, concerns, interest in a particular issue, anything, and we will try to
Yeah.
do
And
our
I
best
guess
to help you.
if there are ways that we can help your branch to have more information, well, let us know.
Great. Well, we look forward to the public policy group postings, and I hope everyone tonight is on that Google group so you can get regular updates. And one other little note, upcoming in March is the International Women's Day on March 8th. If your branch is looking for a reason to have a rally or to post something on social media to get your name out there as supporting women's rights. The theme is accelerate action, and that's certainly what we've been talking about tonight. So good luck, everyone. And I think we can be confident that we can make a difference. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Yes, thank you all for
Night.
coming.
Thank you.